Hey guys, Tyrip here, and today we're taking a look at the Winter Balance Preview mod version 1 and version 1.1 combined. So there'll be a few changes in this first set of notes that are then changed in version 1.1, but I'll mention them as they arise. Starting out with heavy tanks, a change here. In order to make it more rewarding to kill heavy tank call-in vehicles, all heavy tanks, heavy tank destroyers, and heavy assault guns now have the following. Recharge standardized to 3 minutes. And cooldown on ability now starts upon the death of the heavy tank. So this means that once the heavy tank dies, there'll be a 3-minute cooldown before you can call in another heavy tank. So if you're floating up those resources, maybe you're slightly ahead. If you then lose your heavy tank, there will be a penalty for it. You won't be able to instantly call in another one. So it's a slight change there. So here's a demo of the heavy tank changes. Call in the IS-2. See here, it doesn't go on cooldown yet. Here comes the big gold girl. And then when you kill it, then it goes on cooldown for 3 minutes. So that's how all the heavy tanks are going to be handled. 3-minute cooldown after they die. And then to heavy tanks themselves, command points are going from 9 to 12. That's a 1.1 change. And there was also a change here mentioned that they would require all tech, but that is not the case. They got removed from 1.1. On top of that, there's a change here to the IS-2 armor. It's going down from 375 to 340. It's just like a little bit too tough for Axis to penetrate the IS-2 reliably. Most allied tank destroyers have penetration in the range of like 220 to 260, depending on their ranges and whatnot. Whereas things like the Jagdpanzer and the Stug, they're like 170 penetration max range. So squaring off against the IS-2 is just way too tough to penetrate reliably. So just a slight armor nerf here to make things a little bit more tolerable against the IS-2. Change here to the Pershing manpower as well. That's going up from 600 to 640. Just bringing it in line mainly with other heavy tanks in terms of pricing, because it is pretty damn good these days. And a slight change here to the KV2 as well. At Vet 3, it's getting a bonus of 25% rotation rate and plus 20% acceleration and deceleration, in addition to the 160 health increase it gains at that star of veterancy as well. KV2 veterancy was a little bit lackluster, wasn't getting much bonuses from veterancy, doesn't gain any reload bonuses, for example. So it's a slight buff to its veterancy there. And now we're taking a look at the British, starting out with the infantry section. There were a lot of complaints about the performance of these in the last patch. So a change here to the rifle, the Lee Enfield. The moving accuracy of that is going up from 0.35 to 0.5. So it's kind of bringing it in line with the Conscript Mosin, the Grenadier Kar98K. They also have 0.5. So that will also probably put them in the range of maybe running and gunning will be more effective if they don't have ALMGs equipped, rather than staying stationary to try and wipe retreating squads, which is kind of interesting. So a buff there will make them slightly better when maneuvering around in the early game especially. The Pyrotechnics upgrade for Tommies is getting access now to a Smoke Barrage for 25 munitions, which has the same range as the artillery. Smoke comes from off-map and has a global cooldown, which means recharges shared across all squads. I think the idea was toyed with that maybe there could be smoke shells coming from the artillery, but it just didn't really work out that well, which is why working with this solution. So now we're taking a look at the new Smoke Barrage available to the Pyrotechnics Tommies. Here's their cast range. If you compare that to the Coordinated Fire, exact same range as the Artillery Strike. If you cast a little bit outside of that, they'll just run to range and then they'll lob the grenade. Comes out with the red smoke initially, then the green flare comes in, indicating that it's not going to be offensive artillery, rather a utility strike. And then 3 plumes of smoke come down. And that does share a cooldown, looks like it's about maybe 70 seconds, with the artillery, and locks the other squads out of it as well. Got another squad over here, which also does not have access to those strikes. So yeah, the Smoke Barrage sharing a cooldown with Coordinated Fire at the moment. Let's look at the Tommy new Smoke Barrage request. Change here to the target size. It's going from 0.9 to 0.85, but target size in cover remains the same at 0.8. So just a slight buff to the outer cover performance here. They're going to be slightly harder to hit with small arms. There should be slightly better outer cover. That was a big complaint. in the previous patch. And then the Lend-Lease Regiment Assault Section upgrade has been removed, which we can take a look at down below. So now the Assault Infantry Section is going to be a call-in squad. It's going to be 280 manpower, 0 command points. Starts automatically as a 5-man squad, but not affected by bolster. If you get bolster, it won't go up to 6. Target size of 1, so slightly worse target size compared to sections starting out at the gate. But if you make the target size too good, it just makes them completely oppressive in the early game. We learned that from Assault Engineers. Speaking of Assault Engineers, Assault Infantry Section comes with 5 Sten stock, and I believe that they are similar in stats to the Assault Engineer Grease Gun. And they can still get the Thompson upgrade, which now unlocks the White Phosphorus Grenade, so they won't get that straight out of the gate, which would be an issue. And their survivability bonuses are being moved from veterancy instead of being straight out of the gate. So we'll take a look at the veterancy now. 25% recharge on all grenades at Vet 1 and minus 10% received accuracy. So similar to Assault Engineers, which also get 10% received accuracy at Vet 1. And then at Vet 2, 29% received accuracy, minus 25% weapon cooldown. Vet 3, 40% weapon accuracy, minus 5 munitions to grenade costs. So yeah, they will scale pretty well with those kind of bonuses. And they do need that extra bit of scaling maybe compared to Assault Engineers, because you know they can't go into the back lines and plant mines and use their flamethrower. You have to rely on their raw performance a little bit more compared to Assault Engineers. So testing out these assault sections, we're going to charge them into some grenadiers here. See how they get on. As I said, I believe they have similar performance to assault grenadiers. So they're probably going to do pretty well here. I mean assault engineers rather. Right, close a little bit more. Very convincing one there. Similar story here, and this one already done. So yeah, pretty handy victory charging into grenadiers without cover. So now unupgraded sections charging into grenadiers behind heavy cover. See how this goes. Imagine they're still going to win. Definitely a closer fight, but still pretty convincing there. Slightly less convincing here. And very, very close here. Almost a loss. But still 3 ways. Assault sections coming out on top here, unupgraded. Same story this time, charging against Falk grenadiers behind heavy cover. See if they fare any better. Maybe slightly better this time overall, but still pretty similar to their performance when charging against grenadiers behind heavy cover. So now we'll see how they do against assault grenadiers in close range. You know, units similar timing, similar role. See how they get on. Running this in 3 different areas of the map though, so we can compare. Very close. Oh, well, complete beatdown over here. And a slight win there, as I'll say. So do seem to be very similar in performance. Just kind of comes down to RNG, model drops, stuff like that. So now the upgraded assault section charging into LMG grenadiers behind heavy cover. See how that goes. LMG grenadiers. Oh no. Very, very close. Looks like on every occasion the assault section does win, but you know, it's kind of the dynamic you generally want. You know, maybe the LMG squad ends up losing, but they'll bleed you on the way in. So Assault squad gains the territory. The stationary squad inflicts the manpower damage. Now we have Vet 3 assault sections upgraded with the Thompsons against Vet 5 STG Folks. Charging in here. See how this one goes. Pretty convincing win. So if you're playing with Volks and you're up against these assault sections, you'll definitely want to be in cover. And then finally, upgraded Vet 3 assault sections charging into Vet 5 LMG Obers. See what the absolute late game is like. Quite a lot of damage on the way in. Beat down, beat down, beat down. So yeah, you'll definitely want to avoid doing this. Looks like you're maybe going to get like half the health off the Obers. So you want to maybe use grenades, smoke, something to assist you. Charging head on into Vet 5 Obers is not going to work well. And finally, the last of the infantry section changes here. The Tank Hunter infantry section, this is available in the Special Weapons Commander. Now starts as a 5-man squad, but not affected by bolsters, so it won't go up to 6 men. So maybe you'll be able to find a build path making use of these Tank Hunter infantry sections without rushing bolster. Maybe this will tip the scales a little bit more, make this a tiny bit more appealing. Now here's a big change, the Assault Officer, which was previously the Air Landing Officer. We'll cover what happens to the glider shortly. But the Brits lack a dedicated close quarter squad, which causes them a lot of issues, say against Assault Grenadiers. And Royal Engineers weren't really cutting the mustard, especially once upgraded with a Minesweeper. They just really weren't quite doing the close quarters duties. So here we have the Assault Officer. This should give the British players some ability to handle close quarters situations without turning them into a closer range powerhouse, which would be an issue given how good they are long range with their 5-man double Bren Tommies. If they were super good close range as well, they'd have no weaknesses. But yeah, a little bit of access to a close quarters squad outside of commandos, which are only in a couple commanders. Now available in the platoon command post, limited to 1. Gains a 5th soldier at Vet 2. Received accuracy bonus at Vet 2, moved to Vet 3. Now gains 30% weapon accuracy at Vet 3. Removes smoke on retreat at Vet 3. Similar to commandos, they used to have that, but not anymore. Bodyguards switch to Tommies with unsilenced Sten guns, same stats as commandos, so it should be pretty powerful and close. Cost from 280 to 320. Heroic Charge will now function similar to the Captain's on Me for US forces in terms of functionality. Target 1 unit instead of a whole bunch of units close to the officer. The unit will sprint, gain minus 20% received accuracy, make them a little bit harder to hit, and gain plus 20% weapon accuracy during its duration, lasts 15 seconds. So it's different to the Captain on Me because the unit won't actually automatically start running towards the captain or just continue on whatever it's doing. So maybe that might actually be slightly better than Captain's on Me, honestly, because it's kind of rare that you actually want the squad, the captain to actually come towards the captain, because usually he's suppressed at the time, you know, so you're kind of running into some suppression. But there we go, that's the Heroic Charge. So here's the new British officer, this time charging against some Grenadiers. Max range. See how it goes. Convincing one there. So it looks like in all cases they end up with about half or more health. So very convincing one there for the Air Landing Officer. So here's the officer charging into LMG Grenadiers behind heavy cover. Let's see if this makes a difference. On this occasion, it looks like the officer didn't take much damage on approach, and then completely overwhelmed once in close. This occasion looks like they must have taken a lot more damage on approach. MG Grenadiers win, and then officer wins over here. So it looks like the officer does have the edge, but it's kind of just RNG depending on how much damage they take on approach. So now the officer charging into STG Volks at Vet 1. Another scenario you probably encounter in the game. In this case, the Vet 1 does matter because Volks gain 10% received accuracy at Vet 1. See how they get on. Looks like this is going to be a loss on this one. So yeah, much closer fight. It looks like the air landing officer is still favoured, but a much closer fight this time. Potentially you can lose, depending on how the engagement goes. So now a Vet 3 officer with the extra man that he gets at Vet 2, I believe it was, charging into Vet 5 STG Volks out in the open. See how this one gets on. Oh, that is a beatdown. Beatdown. And absolute beatdown. So it looks like this air landing officer scales super well, just completely overwhelming Volks Grenadiers. So now I've got Vet 3 P-Greens against the Vet 3 officer, close range. See how this goes. Officer, pretty convincing win, very convincing win, and just a overwhelming beatdown. So yeah, I mean the P-Greens just stood no chance. This Vet 3 officer looks like an absolute weapon. And then finally the Vet 3 officer charging in against fully upgraded MG Obers. See if they do any better than the Assault Tommies. Which I would guess that they will. Seems to take quite a lot less damage on approach, maybe maintaining an extra model. Very, very close fight here, wow.
One of our officers has fallen in battle.
Win here. And a very, very close. So this looks like to be pretty much a toss-up. Maybe if you're individually controlling the officer, you might do a little bit better repositioning them, making sure you're inside the minimum range. But man, this officer, it starts out maybe a little bit weak, but it turns into an absolute weapon. I'm not sure that's how it should be. So now we're taking a look at the new officer's ability, starting out with the officer charge. Here's the cast range on it. Sprinting forwards. Maybe the sprint lasts about 5 seconds. The accuracy buff still, and received accuracy buff still seems to be lasting maybe about 15-20 seconds. Yeah, about 15 seconds, I guess. So yeah, a small sprint and then a decent buff for a duration, 45 seconds recharge. And here's the recon sweep. This is the Vet 1 ability. I put a sniper down here. I want to double check that will detect camouflage units. This is 50 munitions. So the delay on the plane seems to be maybe a little bit slower. Oh yeah, definitely detecting the camouflage units. And that is a huge amount of sight. That is like so much sight, way more than USF plane, and because it's flying slower, it provides you that sight for longer. Maybe more comparable to like the vetted up USF officer plane in terms of sight there. So yeah, that seems to be extremely strong. Will definitely give the Brits a big edge in those sniper wars. Universal Carrier, the Wasp upgrade, is getting a armor bonus from 5.8 to 7. This is kind of just reverting the last set of nerfs to the Universal Carrier, But the issue here was that the Wasp would kind of drive into MG42 in the building, even not with AP ammo equipped. The MG42 would just like win the duel against the Wasp, which is obviously not supposed to happen. That's what the Wasp is supposed to be good at, clearing units from buildings, and with the low amount of armor, it was unable to do that. But here, no change to the Vickers upgrade here. Another big change to the British, they're getting access to a medic squad. You know, there have been quite a few nerfs to Tommies, buffs to things like the Vickers, the Sniper, but still you're kind of locked into going for like 3 Tommies with medic upgrades, because otherwise you just wouldn't be able to heal your units properly. So maybe this will help alleviate that somewhat. Will be available from the HQ, costs 180 manpower. I believe this is the same as the one that came in the Ford Logistics Glider. So here's a look at the British Medic, 180 manpower, can train from the main building. Got it on hold healing at the moment. We've got 2 very highly damaged Tommy squads. See how he does. Oh boy, that doesn't seem to be working too well. Okay, there we go. So as usual, it does seem to be a little bit buggy with these medics. Sometimes they just don't heal when you order them to. That was pretty quick. See if they automatically run over to the squad, what kind of range is involved. Start healing them. No. It says you have to manually come over and target them. That's not good. In terms of like low effort. Wanting to just heal at your base, having to manually target all the squads with this. It's quite a micro burden to them. Even if they are quite cheap, 180 manpower, pretty cheap compared to Soviets healing, for example. They also have AoE healing mode. We'll activate that here. Looks like they auto cast the healing on this time, and it looks like it might even stack as well. That is super fast healing, the aura heal combined with the active heal. Yeah, looks like on this occasion, once again bugged out, this model over here mucking around.
Time for a stroll, chaps. Up you get, we're moving on.
So now there it goes. And yeah, it does look like the just like auto selecting, auto healing based on, you know, just like the right click healing, or squad running over to a wounded squad is also quite buggy still. Sexton and Valentine. The Valentine supercharged barrage no longer shares a cooldown with a regular barrage, and the Valentine coordinated barrage going from 35 to 60. I believe this is munitions. So I believe this was maybe always supposed to be this way, but maybe those are cooldown changes to howitzers caused this to mess up, but now that's sorted out. The Ford Logistics Glider, this is the one that comes in Vanguard and not Commandos. It's getting changed here. Obviously it doesn't come with the air landing officer anymore. It comes with Commandos. Change here, it doesn't come with medics upon landing. You'll have to upgrade that. Unlocks with the Ford Retreat Point upgrade. The cost is also getting changed. I believe it's going to 390 manpower, and the upgrade is 150 or 200 manpower to get the Ford Retreat Point and the medics. And yeah, obviously you can still retrain commandos from this glider as well. Moving on to the Soviets now, starting out with the ML-20. PopCap here going down from 15 to 13. Kind of bringing them more in line with rocket artillery, which are around 12 PopCap each. So, you know, after the cooldown nerfs to howitzers in the last patch, that kind of fallen out of favor. So now that their performance is more in line with rocket artillery, it makes sense that their PopCap would also be the same. Conscripts, the 7-man conscripts were overperforming. You saw just how powerful they were in the late game. So their reload cover bonus from 7-man is being removed. Just a slight nerf here, as you know. Changes to reload bonuses are pretty minor in terms of actual DPS numbers. So just a minor nerf to their DPS when in cover. Airborne Guards. A couple buffs here, because despite this commander being quite popular, these Airborne Guards were quite rarely used. So manpower cost is going down from 380 to 360, a little bit more in line with other elite infantry, which is generally around 350. The strafe is going from 60 munitions to 45, that's their vet ability, and their PPSH upgrade now grants the tactical assault ability similar to paratroopers and stormtroopers. This will make them really strong at wiping. Previously this upgrade was rarely used. If you want PPSH squads, you can maybe put them on penals or just go for shock troops, a different commander, but this will give you a real reason to use them now. It'll be quite squishy, but their DPS will be very, very high. It changed to For Mother Russia. This is in the counterattack commander, the one with the B4. Standardization similar to Valiant Assault, which got changed in the previous patch. The sprint will now cancel when in combat, so you won't have like penals and shock troops sprinting behind your team weapons and just nailing them to death anymore. It should make it a little bit easier to maintain your team weapon positions. Soviet HQ medic radius is going up from 20 to 25. So previously it got lowered so your medics wouldn't chase you like all the way around to the map as you're leaving your base. But it was a little bit too punishing, a little bit too short range, so a slight change here. Hopefully this will make things just right. US Forces, the Airdrop Combat Group. This is in Recon Support Commander. Slight nerf to the manpower cost, going from 350 to 380. So it's just way too efficient before, especially as Aussie dealing with that manpower spike disadvantage. Just really tough to overcome. So slight nerf here. Still going to be very good value, paratroopers and a pack howitzer for a very low manpower cost and a little bit of munitions of course. M83 cluster bombs, also in the Recon Support Commander. And an additional 1 second delay is being added before the plane arrives. This ability was just like a little bit too hard to dodge before, especially given how spammable it was, low cost, low cooldown. Maybe be able to dodge the first 1 or 2, but eventually you're just going to get stung and just lose everything. So it would make it a little bit easy to dodge. 1 second delay is being added. I believe this already had like a very, very fast plane speed, like in terms of travel speed, how fast the plane moves on the map. So unlike Fragmentation Bombs, it didn't need a speed increase to compensate here for the larger map modes. And finally, the USF grenade package is being reduced in manpower from 150 to 100. You didn't see it that often, so it's just a slight buff here to USF grenade package. OKW. The OKW Battle Group Headquarters, the medic search range is going from 20 to 25. Same change as what happened to Soviet medics. Sturm Tiger, it's getting a different ability for its Vet 1. The grenade ability is now a timed passive, automatically attacks enemies for 30 seconds. So you activate it and for 30 seconds it will automatically launch grenades. Of course, going along with this, they've been tuned down a little bit because that grenade was like decently strong. So they do like a little bit less per grenade, but timed ability lasts 30 seconds. Kind of gives the Sturm Tiger something to do. Maybe like slightly before it launches a rocket or afterwards as it's trying to back away. So that's pretty cool. So here's the new Sturm Tiger Vet 1 ability. We'll change these conscripts to enemy. 20 munitions, so pretty cheap to activate. See how it goes. Looks like about 1 grenade every 5 seconds. Seems to be targeting, not ideally. Oh, there we go. So pretty good AoE on that. Seems to do maybe like a third health per grenade roughly to a conscript squad if they're on full health. So yeah, that's a look at the new grenade launcher ability. Certainly I think, post Barrage, if you're trying to retreat, especially if you've got engine damage, it's really quite useful at helping you keep squads away from your Sturm Tiger as you're trying to back it away, get it to safety. So that's actually a pretty cool ability. LEIG and Mortar Half-Track Incendiary Barrage. This is Mortar Half-Track and Spearhead for RC, not for OKW. They're both listed here. Damage over time plus 25% against Commonwealth Emplacement tag removed, and brings damage over time, damage per tick versus defenses from 4.67 to 3.75. The issue here was, even if you activated Brace, if like the 3 shells land on top of your emplacement, even through Brace, they could basically kill them. So this is just tuning it down slightly, so emplacements are just ever so slightly better against these incendiary barrages. They'll still be extremely effective, especially if the person doesn't use Brace. So here's a demonstration of the incendiary mortar barrage against an emplacement. About mid-range on this, minimum range here, maximum range around here. So around average scatter on this. Fired one mortar shell before that. There it goes. So this is without brace on the mortar pit first. Looks like all 3 shells landing on the mortar pit. That one scattering wide. Any more mortar shells tainting the result. So it looks like with no brace we'll do about, I think 3 shells landed. 3 out of 4. We'll do about 3/4 damage to a unvetted mortar pit, and I believe mortar pit gets health at 3. So interesting. I thought it would do more damage than that. Testing that again, this time with brace.
Ready to carry out instructions. Get on it! Hurry!
Activating it a little bit ahead of time, so not perfect activation on the brace.
Orders complete. Red driver, advance us forward.
So without perfect activation of the brace, seemed like maybe 2 shells this time missed.
Move out! Schnell!
Mortar goes to about half health. Alright, so that's the nerf to the incendiary mortar barrage. Fallschirmjäger, the Panzerfaust, is being removed. This was a pretty heavily requested change, especially after the buffs they got in the last patch, especially for like first month and a half or so. Fallschirmjäger were very, very heavily complained about. Now most of the complaints seem to be against ground defensive these days, but still Fallschirmjäger getting this change. So make them a little bit easier to counter with light vehicles before you have to be maybe a bit cautious with your light vehicles, because you can drive in close and reveal them through the camouflage because you have to worry about getting fausted. That'll no longer be the case. The 251 infrared half track, unfortunately there was an unfixable bug with this half track. Basically if you got suppressed while the beam was on top of your unit, then that unit will be detected on the tactical map or the mini map for the rest of the game, which is why I was banned from tournaments. So it's getting reworked because unfortunately that bug just could not be fixed with the way that it worked. So now it's going to provide sight and an arc forwards, just regular vision up to 70 range, which is pretty long range. It's got a new ability called Detection. You'll spot nearby units around the half track on the mini map for 30 seconds, cost 15 munitions, 60-second recharge, pretty cheap there. And its fuel cost going from 5 to 10. So already there's been a lot of discussion over this change. Some people thinking it's way too strong, some people think it's way too weak. We'll have to wait and see. So here we are taking a look at the new infrared searchlight. As you can see, when just regularly moving around, nothing special about sight. It's the bog standard 35 sight. Once it's stationary for a while, sets up. And then it's got cone vision forwards up to 70 range. So pretty good line of sight there on it to set up. All facing ahead though. Might give you a chance to flank it. On the other side we have a vetted 222, for example, not with the spine scopes yet. And that doesn't quite see as far. That looks like it goes up to 65 range. Of course it goes in a omnidirectional manner. Great with the spotting scopes. Then it sees maybe about 20 range further than the IR searchlight does. Looks like it goes out to 90 range. That is, of course, when it's stationary. Of course, when it's moving, it doesn't gain that spotting scope bonus sight. So yeah, that's just a quick look. This is, of course, non-doctrinal. Don't have to vet it up. Quite cheap in terms of cost. So a lot of things going for the IR searchlight might make it very hard to outmaneuver OKW on some maps, but this search won't see through sight blockers, so maybe map specific sight blockers will of course impede it, but maybe that's where the detection ability comes in handy. So now we're taking a look at the IR searchlight detection ability. 10 munitions, duration 30 seconds. Pop that. There we go, we can see on the mini map squad a little bit further than before, out to here I believe. So it looks like that has 80 range, didn't mention that in the notes. This is out to 80 range.
Move out.
And it looks like that works whilst on the move as well. So that can be handy, popping that while you're repositioning your IR Searchlight. So a little bit further range than the regular Searchlight. Searches in all directions and works on the move. So let's have a look at the new detection ability for the IR Searchlight. And finally, the OKW LFH getting similar treatment to the Soviet ML20, population going down from 15 to 13. Also, their Fragmentation Bombs. There's being a delay added to the plane. It's going from 2 seconds to 4 seconds. But in return for that, the plane speed is going much faster, up from 175 to 275. The issue with Fragmentation Bombs is right at the edge of the map, almost impossible to dodge. They're coming so quickly. So a delay being added to make it a little bit easier to dodge on the edge, but plane speed increased, so close to the center of maps. Might even arrive faster, especially on bigger 4v4 maps. So here's a test: old Fragmentation bombing run versus new on the middle fuel point on steps. And the old Fragmentation bombing run does actually end up coming in a little bit faster. So here's a test of the new Fragmentation bombing run. Around this area is where Nagano got completely obliterated by this ability. Smoke down, go for the dodge. Wow, that's a bigger delay than I was expecting actually. You've got a decent time to dodge if you can dodge out to the side, if you can predict that much. And this is, yeah, as I said, around where Nagano got wiped right outside his base by a frag bombing run like this. So that delay a little bit steeper than I was expecting, maybe like half a second or so could be knocked off that. I see LFH going from 15 pop cap down to 13, same as all the other howitzers. Now we're moving on to the bug fixes, starting out with the B4 target size. It's going from 1 to 20. This is supposed to happen last patch, same size as the other howitzers. Make it easier to hit once it's decrewed, for example. Fix an issue where the Panzerfusilier grenade AoE distance were not properly set. So last patch, similar story, they were supposed to be changed and weren't. So this is a buff actually. Panzerfusilier grenade would be quite a lot better now. The KV8 45mm gun should now recognize prioritized vehicle commands. That's really helpful if you're trying to use it against a vehicle. Recovery sappers, these are the ones you call in the special weapons commander, should no longer lose their minesweepers or weapons when reinforcing with multiple slot items. That's a good change. That was an annoying bug. Whilst their medical kits should now immediately go on recharge after use. I'm not sure about that one. Valentine should no longer reveal itself on random occasions when in recon mode. So yeah, there was an issue. Your opponent could see it in the fog of war just randomly appear when using recon mode. LFH howitzers being recrewed by OKW will now have 5 levels of veterancy, as they should. Sturm Officer Force Retreat can no longer be used on retreating units. That's a good change. Osea Puma no longer shares the same hotkey with 222. Good change as well. Fixed an issue where the Stuart 37mm had a higher aim time than other vehicles. So the issue here was the Stuart, for its first shot, would just take longer to aim than most other vehicles in the game. So that was being standardized. So the first shot should come out quicker now. Fix an issue where the Puma aim shot applied to the Crocodile's flamethrower rather than the main gun. Good, that's been fixed. Fix an issue where Volksgrenadier cover sight bonus activated at Vet 5 rather than Vet 4. Fix an issue where Assault Guards were at 6 pop rather than 8. And then fix an issue where Assault Engineers did not get their 10% received accuracy at Vet 1. So that may explain why Assault Engineers were dropping off quite sharply in the late game. So it's a pretty important bug to fix there. Moving on to 1.1, heavy tanks. The command points going from 11 to 12. And then reverted the all tech requirements from version 1.0. Already covered that. I'll say tech changes. Bit of a common complaint that tier 4 maybe not strong enough, too hard to access, especially in 1v1s. So a bit of a rejig in terms of the fuel. The techs themselves, the ones you do from the HQ, are going up in fuel, but in return, the buildings themselves will no longer have a fuel cost. So I believe this maybe gives you, if you're going for like a tier 2 into, tier 3 into tier 4 tech, maybe cost you 10 fuel less. Minor change here. It does seem a little bit weird to me not having fuel costs associated with these building costs, but alright. The XP values have been adjusted accordingly, so you'll still get the same amount of experience from building these buildings. Just a slight tweak there to make, I'll say, tier 4 a little bit more accessible. Big change here. Grenadier's reinforcement cost is going down from 30 to 28. So recently we've seen a lot of other strategies being popped with us here, maybe Assault Grenadiers, maybe even tech skipping past Tier 1, going something like machine guns and pyros into Panzer Grenadiers, now that Panzer Grenadiers aren't in Tier 2 anymore. So now maybe Grenadiers are going to be back on the menu for us here, with this reinforcement cost decrease. Pack 40 is also getting changed, the horizontal tracking speed is going up from 12 to 14. So this should mean it should have a slightly easier time like locking onto units, especially those moving through its arc. I believe this puts it up to the same tracking speed that the M1 has. So, you know, it's not like crazy broken fast, but should help it lock onto like vehicles and well, just all vehicles moving through the pack's arc. Maybe make it slightly easier for us to deal with like vehicles in the early game, which can be a real headache for them since they don't have a light vehicle that can really go toe to toe with things like the Stuart, the AEC, or the T70. So maybe the pack now will be able to assist them a little bit better in that role. The Brombeer getting a slight armor buff here, going from 240 to 260 armor. Still going to be worse than it used to be back before it got nerfed maybe about a year ago, maybe a bit better than that even, because the veterancy bonuses are lower now. I believe they're 20% instead of 30%. So it works out to be maybe like 20 armor, 30 armor less than it used to be back in the day. Back when it was considered OP, but back then as well it used to have more range. There's a lot more things that have changed since then. So the Brombeer getting a slight buff here, and compared to heavy tanks, certainly seems to be underperforming by quite a bit. So slight armor buff here, maybe shrug off a couple more AT gun shots here or there. The Panzerfaust is getting changed here. The projectile speed is going down from 55 to 25. This is with the aim of stopping Panzerfaust, you know, hitting the ground or missing or whatever, but just flat out bugging out. So hopefully this will at least reduce, if not eliminate, those issues. Moving on to the British, the HQ glider. This is the air landing glider in Vanguard. It has the forward retreat point. Cost is going down from 450 to 390, which we saw in the previous patch. And the HQ retreat point and medics now must be researched for 150 manpower. So this is the same price as the Commandos glider, both at 390. Commandos glider can be deployed in enemy territory, you can use it for flanks and stuff. HQ glider can only be deployed in friendly territory, so a slight difference there in their functionality, though this probably overall will be stronger. So here's a look at the revised forward logistics glider. It has to be deployed in friendly territory, it doesn't have to be connected. As you can see here, the cutoff, you're disconnecting this point. You can still call it in on that.
A glider is carrying a forward headquarters to
See
a
how it
target
goes.
area.
Hopefully it doesn't get obliterated in the landing. Might just do. Alright, not too bad, not too bad. Forward territory point. So
Wash your ears out, or does wanking make you deaf? We've got orders. Ready for action.
okay, so forward retreat point unlocking here. The moment I don't have any stage of tech at my base. But then this is instantly unlockable and you can activate the forward retreat point. So I believe this is supposed to be locked behind company command post, the forward retreat point ability on this. So that's a bit of an issue.
Push on.
But yeah, you can see the medic standing there.
French wine's not the same. French beans aren't the same either.
It's got a little bit low in health. And they run around to come and heal them up. The air landing officer, or maybe this should be called the assault officer nowadays, it's having its recon run increased in price to match the USF Major, gone from 35 munitions to 50. Moving on to the Soviets, the ZIS and Su-76 Barrage, it's having its damage against units behind heavy cover reduced from doing full damage to doing half damage. So the issue here was that the ZIS could just roll up on like a heavy machine gun behind a sandbag, behind heavy cover, and just nuke them out because it was still doing full damage. That won't be the case anymore, so playing defensively, setting up sandbags, will now be rewarded against the ZIS rather than being punished because you'll be clumped up behind that sandbag, be doing full damage. So this should make the Su-76 Barrage slightly less effective at just nuking you out of your defensive positions, which is a nice change because the ZIS Barrage was being used a lot in this capacity. So now I've got the Su-76 Barrage against a squad behind heavy cover and a squad out in the open. The squad in the same spacing as the squad behind heavy cover to try and neutralize that. Doing this pretty damn close range. minimize the scatter. And you can see the difference there that the heavy cover is making now. Enormous difference. So yeah, units set up behind heavy cover are going to be a lot more resistant to those SU-76 and this barrages. The airborne weapon crate drop, this is the one in the airborne guards commander. The price is going up from 45 munitions to 60. I think this is a fair change. You know, those SVT conscripts were definitely on par with STT Volks or LMG Grandies, maybe even better. So I think it makes sense that the munitions cost is appropriate to that. KW, the Stern Tiger, grenade deflection damage removed. Okay, that's pretty funny. Will no longer do deflection damage when it fails to penetrate vehicles. And then on to a few bug fixes. These are mainly related to the patch itself. The landing officer can pick up Brens, reinforcement costs fixed, infantry section cost on reinforcement also fixed, and British medical squad training time also getting fixed, was 45 seconds, now 21. A special thank you goes out to my Patreon backers who make these more in-depth guides possible.